Love. It is not a feeling, it is a skill. Raise your hand if you've ever had your heart broken. Now keep it raised if you've ever been given an instruction manual for how to avoid that heartbreak. Exactly. We are sent into this most complex, high stakes arena of our human life, which is love, with less training than what we get when we learn how to drive a car. We are given a single catastrophic piece of advice: just follow your heart. I mean, what does that even mean? And we wonder why we keep continuously crashing throughout our life. What if all that we have learned about love is actually backwards? What if the problem isn't that we are picking a wrong person, or that we are unlovable, or that fate has anything against us? What if the problem is that we've mistaken love for a feeling that we fall into, instead of recognizing it as the most important skill that most of us will never learn? I mean, think about it. Think about any other domain of mastery. If you wanted to be a concert pianist, would you just sit at the piano and wait to feel inspired? If you wanted to be a surgeon, would you just pick up a scalpel and hope that your feelings guided you? Of course not, right? You would practice the skills for thousands of hours. You would study anatomy, and you would follow a strict, systematic protocol. Yet, with love, the most consequential project of our lives, we believe that it should come to most of us very naturally. We believe in the spark, we talk about chemistry, and when that feeling fades, as it always does, we conclude that the love is gone. We diagnose it as a dead battery, when the truth is that we never learned how to generate the electricity in it. Let's understand this a little bit better with an example. Now, picture a couple. 2 years in, the spark has faded, right? She's on the couch scrolling. He's watching a game. There is pin drop silence. And they end up interpreting this silence as boredom, as the end of love. So they drift apart, or they blow up the entire relationship to chase the feeling with someone new. They're like the novice gardeners who see a wilted plant and think that this one's dead, instead of asking, have I watered it? Does it need sun? What is the soil missing? Here's another one. Picture an argument, a fight. He says something hurtful. She reacts automatically with a cutting remark. Now the entire situation escalates. Both of the people are waiting to get that feeling of apology to magically appear, but they are both awash in the feelings of anger and hurt, so they stonewall. They sleep on the couch and the distance grows. They lack the skill of repair. They had the emotional equivalent of two people standing on a leaking boat, feeling very wet, but with no knowledge of how to use a bucket or a patch or a plug. We have these kind of evidence all around us, yet we cling to the myth of love is a feeling. Why? Because it lets us off the hook. If love is a feeling, then it's not our fault. It is fate, it is magic. But if love is a skill, then its failure is on us. And that is terrifying. But it is also the most hopeful idea that we will ever hear. Now let me introduce a new metaphor. Love is not a feeling that you catch, it is the language that you learn. A foreign language that no one ever taught you. Right now, you are fluent in the language of your profession, of your career. You know its vocabulary, you know its grammar, you can navigate a meeting, write an email, give a presentation. But when you go home, you suddenly are expected to be fluent in love. And you're trying to speak it, but you have the toddler's vocabulary. Like, I love you, I'm sorry, or are you mad at me? So when misunderstanding happens, You don't think that maybe I need to improve my conjugations or my listening comprehension in the language of love. You think they don't understand me. Or we are incompatible. You blame the other person for not understanding your broken language. So, what is the grammar of this language? The grammar of this language is simply based on 3 rules. Rule number 1, that actions conjugate feelings. You don't wait to feel love to act lovingly. The actions come first and the feeling follows. You practice the verb and the noun of love appears. Grammar rule number 2, listening is the core syntax. Most communication problems aren't about speaking. They are simply about listening, not to respond, but simply to comprehend the emotional meaning behind what the other person is saying. Grammar rule number 3, repair is non-negotiable vocabulary. The words like, I was wrong, I see how I hurt you, let me try that again, are not the signals of defeat. They are the essential vocabulary of a fluent speaker. So if love is a skill, how do you practice? You don't just practice by being in a relationship. It's like a person sitting in a garage isn't practicing to be a mechanic. You practice specific drills. And let me share those drills with you. So drill number 1 is the emotional press up, which is the regulation. So before you can connect with someone else, you must be able to hold your own emotional weight. And this is the press up. So when you feel a reactive emotion, it can be anger, anxiety, or something negative, you create a 60-second gap. You don't speak, you don't act, you just simply breathe and observe the sensation in your body. You separate the wave of feeling from the ocean of who you are. And this is the foundation drill for all intimacy, in fact, for all relationships. Drill number 2 is the accurate mirror, that is attuned communication. Now, this is a skill of reflecting back, not just the words, but the emotions underneath. So when your partner speaks, your goal is not to problem solve or to fix. Your goal is simply to say, so what am I hearing is that you felt maybe alone, maybe frustrated, whatever, when so and so thing happened. Am I getting it right? Because you are not a fixer, you are a mirror, a clean, accurate mirror, and it is to become that is a profound gift. Drill number 3, the scheduled tune-up. That is a ritualized connection for which you schedule time, because you schedule time for everything important in your life, right? So why not connection? Practice a 20-minute device-free connection conversation at least once a week. If you can do it more, then great. And this meeting is not to discuss logistics or problem, but to simply ask questions like, what dream you had this week? Or what is something that you're proud of? You are not relying on spontaneity here. You are practicing a ritual of turning towards each other in a very systematic way. This reframe literally changes everything in your life. It moves from being a victim of your feelings to an architect of your connections. The old story, the story which listed, oh, the spark died, or we fell out of love, or it wasn't meant to be, shifts into the new story that we stopped practicing the skills of love. You take responsibility. We stopped speaking the language of love, and we can learn, we can improve. Isn't this more romantic? This is so much more romantic than to believe that your relationship is a fragile soap bubble at the mercy of a wind. It is romantic to believe that it is a beautiful, durable sculpture that you and the other person have the tools to build, to maintain, and to repair day after day, week after week. You are now not waiting for a feeling. You are cultivating a climate where love can grow. A climate of safety, of curiosity, of repair. And in that climate, the feeling we call love blooms again and again, season after season, not as a mysterious accident, but as a predictable harvest. So what is your first lesson? Start tonight. Pick one drill. Maybe it's the emotional press up. The next time you're triggered, you will create that 60-second gap where you will practice being the calm in your own storm. Or maybe this time you pick up being the accurate mirror to your partner. In your next conversation, you will reflect back the feeling that you hear, just once. You will say, it sounds like that was really disappointing for you. You don't have to have a perfect relationship to start practicing. You practice to get that real connection, that real relationship. The skill is the pathway, and the reward comes at the end. So stop searching for a love that feels effortless and start building a love that is artful. It is made by you, the love that is made up of knowledge, of choice, of practiced and graceful effort. That kind of love doesn't just happen to you. It happens because of you, and that is unbreakable. Put down the story that love is a lottery that you keep losing. Pick up a new, radical, empowering truth, ridiculous responsibility that your heart is not a passive vessel. It is a capable, creative, and a skilled muscle that can be trained. And it's time for you to train it. The greatest love story that you will have is not the one that you find, but the one that you build by yourself. Word by word, repair by repair. Thank you.